I am live apparently. So I need to refresh the show. It's not even coming up on my YouTube, which is typical YouTube. If you guys are here with me, then I don't see anything because typical YouTube issues. That. There we are. There we go. Okay, so far nobody has joined yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to share the post. All right, and because of that, now I can share widely on Instagram. Oh my gosh, there's so much to do when you're doing something like this. And you would think I'd be better prepared. I'm still learning the programs, so to speak. So I'm kind of lost. Ahmad has come and joined us. Hey Ahmad, how's it going? It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in forever, and you finally made a live show. I'm actually pretty impressed. I'm actually pretty happy about that. So Ahmad, what's up? Tell me what's going on. What's new? I know you've been studying, so tell me everything you know. Well, I share this show on Instagram to get people in here. Because the gentleman we're having is Scott's Inverts. He is a longtime keeper of many different types of animals. And so we're going to be learning some frog care from him. Now, why did it go here? Why can't I open that up? Thank you very much. Yay, I missed you too. Ahmad says, yay, I missed you. Well, again, I missed you too. You're probably the oldest listener I have. Exam anxiety. Aw. Are you, is this for like a semester or is an a placement exam? What are you taking? What are you doing? Elaborate some more. And again, ladies and gentlemen, if you enter the room, please say hi so I can give you a shout out. I need to give you guys some shout outs. The semester, oof, it's rough. I wish you the best. You've been studying, right? You've been how? Yeah. By the way, that's one question that's been on my mind. What's your GPA? Your grade point average? I need to know and give you a proper shout out. So I know you're a smart kid. So, well, you're not really a kid. You're a smart guy. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know what he's studying, he's actually studying becoming a doctor. So he recently got into the second best medical school. And is it okay if I'm pretty sure he doesn't care, but I just want to make sure it's okay. Can I give them all the details, or Ahmad, are you? So, question: where's the? Yeah, sure. I don't mind. Oh, okay. We don't have a GPA like you. Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. So Ahmad, where are you going? Where is your university located? Because I know where you live, but I don't want to let people know where you live. I want to let people know where you go to school. Let's keep some animosity here. Animosity. Oh wow, that was totally anonymity. Thank you. Animosity. Yeah. Let's. That was a verbal oops on my part. I apologize. I do speak English. I promise. Lol. Turan. So he's going to school in Tehran. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Is it Tehran or? Actually, you know what? I could give you a link. You could just tell me yourself. Because I'm always afraid you're going to say a name and I'm going to pronounce it so badly. We've known each other for over a year now. So how is it with you? I am doing good. I'm back. So we're doing Tehran is the capital. It gets around 13 million people living in it. Okay. So if you guys, I was gonna say we could do some geography and see where people guess, but we don't have enough people in here to start guessing where Tehran is. So I really love it. It's just fun. Oh, for some reason my mic cut up. Shoot. Well, if people don't know, it's I apologize for my mic going out for some reason. I think I tapped it with my chin because it has a little tap button to mute, and I'm sitting here talking, and then all of a sudden I realize I don't hear the ambient sound of my fan in the back. So I'm like, oh, whoops. But for those who don't know where Tehran is, it's in Iran. He is a student there, but like I said, I don't want to give exact details where you live. I can't come up in here, right? Oh, yeah, no, you can. Let me give you a link, and you can follow the link. Let me give you the broadcasting link, and then you can come join. There you go, Ahmad. So yeah, so you can just join. If you want to know, I use StreamYard. StreamYard is or YardStream. Is it StreamYard or YardStream? I believe it's StreamYard. It's right there in front of my face. I use StreamYard as a broadcasting, so I can broadcast live on YouTube without much of a hassle. Because it's becoming a problem. YouTube says you have to have a minimum amount of people. You have to have a minimum amount of hours. You have to have the minimum amount of subscribers to go live using their own platform. So StreamYard says we don't care. Just use us. We've got our name as long as we could show your logo. So that's why you see powered by StreamYard in the background. So you can either have a camera or you can have it turn the camera off and they just see your logo, like I have with the Exotics Radio podcast, because this is a podcast. This isn't a live cast. Let me correct myself. It's a live cast. And I don't like showing the world exact details of the tarantula room or the art studio that I'm sitting in, for the fact that I still do like my privacy. So again, if you come into the room, please feel free to give us a shout out so I can give you a shout out. So please say hello in the chat. Let everybody know who you are. And it would be nice to do all that. I noticed he's has left. He probably left to come join us. So, but again, if you guys are just now coming in, it is Have a Drink with Me Friday. And what we do generally is we have a live interview with a guest. And today's guest will be Scott's Inverts. And so we're device. There we are. Add to stream. Hey, Ahmad. It says I've added you, but for some strange reason you're not coming up on the. I think you have to give it permission. Oh, there you are. It was just.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. It's a long time no see.
Oh, yay! Long time no see. Yeah.
Yeah, the audio is.
How are you?
Really good, actually. Now that I'm back, everything's getting back in order. I'm now getting back into my art. You know how I am about art. You know my issues since you've listened to me for a year now, actually. So you know all my issues, and I kind of what.
Yeah.
So I went down a rabbit hole mentally and emotionally, and I couldn't get myself out of it. So I had to step away from everything. And then with all the frustrations with Podbean and the loss of my tarantula was just that was the tipping point.
Totally.
I had a full breakdown at that point. So I was like, I have to take a step back. I have to
You
reassert
lost
myself.
tarantula?
Yes, actually, one of my tarantulas. Well, actually, since I've last talked to you, two of my tarantulas have passed away. Um,
Oh
the
my god,
first
I did
one
not know
died.
that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, the first one was because of old age. He was a male, a mature male, so I knew it was coming. So it's just one of those things. It's like, okay. And then the loss of my sling, which we didn't know at the time what was going on. And so between those two and no, it wasn't your tarantula. Your tarantula gets rehoused actually tonight after the show.
Oh,
He's gotten
that's
your tarantula is a suspected male, but he's gotten so big now that he needs another rehouse. So it's just like, oh, well, aren't you spiffy? So he's
great.
he's getting a new home tonight. But yeah, I had such an issue, and then I couldn't get on with Podbean. Couldn't get on with Podbean. Podbean would let me on for a day, but then they weren't putting me up on the announcement board to say that, hey, your person that you follow is live. And I like I said, I had such a breakdown with that, and so I stepped away. And
Yeah.
I got back into I started seeing counseling again, and I got back into art. So now I'm doing pet portraits, which is actually quite a relief for me, financially and mentally, of course. So that helps.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I got into a much better crowd with Scott's Inverts, and then Ellie's Bugs, and Spider Mom 1978. All of them. I got into a better crowd that wasn't Podbean. I don't want to say this to sound mean or anything, but Podbean had a lot of drama going on at the time, and I just emotionally
Yeah.
couldn't handle
No,
it.
I remember that. Yeah. Yeah.
So
I totally get it.
I got into a much better crowd, and here I am. I'm back now.
Yay! I'm really happy for you. I really didn't know about all the stuff going on, and I'm sorry. I feel like
Oh, no problem.
I should have
Oh,
asked or anything, but it's just
no,
that,
sweetie, no. You do your thing, and I told you a long time ago. You do you. You take care of you, because it makes me very
yeah,
proud when you succeed. So,
thank you. But it's
and it
just that I want to know how you're doing too. It's really important to me to know that it makes me really happy. To know that I can help in any way.
Oh, you do help in a lot of ways. When I say hi, you say hi back. That helps. You don't know how much that helps. So,
Uh,
so yeah. No, oh,
yeah.
but to give you more of a filler on what happened during the time that I was away, I got hit by a pesticide. The neighbor upstairs had fumigated, and the pesticide went out through their ventilation. And because my outdoor to indoor ventilations underneath that, it just literally sucked all of that crap in. So I lost a
Oh,
sling. That's why I lost the sling, and then why my tarantulas were getting sick, and then why I lost the one tarantula. So I was like, not the old one. That one's. I've lost a total of 3 tarantulas, a sling, and 2 adults. Or not adults. The other one, the Lastor perihibana. You remember her? She was not even a subadult. She's more like a juvenile going into subadult. So I lost her because of that. But other than that, we were able to save everybody, swab everybody. Everybody that tested negative had to go and get, not only just first aid care, they actually had to stay at the vet for a while. And then yeah, it was just one huge experience after another. But
yeah.
yeah, everything's calmed down since then. I'm now getting everything kind of reordered. My room is a complete disaster at this moment because I keep putting it off. Need to not put that off.
Yeah. I totally do the same thing.
So yeah, that's pretty much all. Oh, and the good news is, you remember Fat Cat Radio, the other project that
I
I
do.
had started.
Yeah, which I
Fat Cat
really
Radio.
like.
Yep. Fat Cat Radio has signed on with a second party, and another individual party. Well, they're actually a company or a business. but another party, I should just say.
Uh-huh.
And they have helped me with getting a lot of the equipment. And so we're in pre-production kind of right now, and then we once we get all everything settled, we will go into um, recordings, and then after the recordings, we're trying to get about 30 recordings or so before we
Oh,
before we get into releasing Fat Cat Radio again. So Fat Cat Radio has a big
well,
surprise, and oddly enough, I have been hired on as a voice actor kind of thing. I get to because I can. I don't want to indulge too much, but I can pitch my voice in a way, and they really liked. They have an idea for that, so they're just like, yeah, we're gonna because to me it sounds like I can sound like myself because it's just me changing my voice, so I don't see or hear another character, but they apparently they love it. So they're like, yeah, we'll help you set up here. So they've given me a lot of equipment, not equipment, but a lot of programs, and they even gave me a separate what do you call it hard drive, so I not to crash my computer like I did a long time ago. So yeah, that's actually pretty interesting for Fat Cat Radio. That's what's going on now. So and now we're just waiting for interviewers.
hey, I'm sorry. I mean, what kind of people are in interview?
Yeah, we're going to be interviewing Scott's Inverts. So we're just waiting for Scott's Inverts to come up, and that way we can, um, interview because, like I said, he keeps more than just invertebrates. He also keeps amphibians and reptiles. So I'm hoping he will
Oh,
talk more about his amphibian care because there's been plenty of people who've been now started up with frogs and other types of amphibians, mainly frogs, of course. Um, and so, yeah, I'm just hoping that he will talk about the basic setups all the way up into the more advanced setups and how to keep a bioactive enclosure. That is a mouthful to say, by the way.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm just really excited. So,
Well,
what is new with you? What is going on your side of the world?
okay. So the first semester of college actually was supposed to be much more fun. I mean, it was good, but it could be really, really better, because everything's online, and it's going to be like this for year two. So actually, it's like a whole year. And being at home, you can't just study, like you're in university. You don't have like any obligations. You can study whenever you want. And that made me a bit lazy, and it wasn't good. Um,
Oof.
but overall, like a month ago or 2 months ago, I went to Tehran for a couple of weeks. Um, I met with a lot of my classmates, which was really really nice because I made really good friends. I think one good thing there was for me about 2020 is that I found a lot of new friends. Uh, I mean, really great friends that I never thought I had found in just 1 year. I mean, first with the quarantine, I came into Pod View, a lot of great people in there. And then I met a great friend of mine whose birthday is in a few days, and we're deciding on what to buy for her. And after that, I got to meet some other friends, of which are just fantastic people, just like her. And then the university started. Great people again, and then I got to meet them, and this was really great because it made me really hopeful. Uh, having people around who care about you, and I really liked it. And a few days ago, I went to a town nearby called
Okay.
Canandech to meet some other friends from university, and it was really good. I really liked it,
Oh,
and
okay. Okay.
this was the parts that I had really fun. But I mean, if everything went online and it was like physical, I could have these again. So I don't know. It was good, but it could have been much better. And now the exams are starting, and I really haven't studied enough. So I have no idea what I'm gonna do.
Study. That's a pretty easy
Yeah.
solution. I haven't studied enough. Well,
No,
here's a book.
no.
Start studying.
You don't know me at all. When I get near exams, I get all paralyzed. I can't do anything but just sit in a place and worry about it. I can't study.
Oh
It's
yes, you
just
can. You
all.
can. You know how you know how I've figured out your tick. If I put chocolate in front of you, you will forget about the
Oh my
exam.
God, no, no.
See.
Chocolate is for when I have stress, and I've started using chocolate a lot in the past few days. Yeah,
So, Ahmad, what are you
I
having
mean
to drink? You know the tradition. It's have a drink with me Friday. What are you having to drink?
nothing. Seriously, there's nothing in front of me right now.
What? You're breaking tradition here.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh, I'm having well, you know me. I'm generally it's either brandy or oh, Crazy Kane says hello, by the way.
Oh, hey,
You know, I'm
Chris.
usually having
I can see the
brandy or
chat.
cognac or whiskey. Yeah, well, if you tab over and hit and hit the mute button, so you don't hear the YouTube feedback, then you can actually keep an eye on the chat and get to hear. Oh, Scott's Inverts finally here. Hi, there we are. Hey, Ahmad, I'm gonna have to let you go. Scott's Inverts is here. He's waiting for his interview.
Sure. All right. Have a good night, I guess. And yeah, it was good to hear from you.
Oh, no kidding. We have to do a full segment on next,
Yeah.
not next Friday, but the Friday after your exams. Well, we'll do this. After your exams, we'll have an interview with you.
Yeah.
Because you know
Sure.
I'm curious about how that goes.
Yeah. Of course, whenever you want.
All right, Ahmad. I love you. Take care. All right, sweetie.
Love you. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Everybody, that was Ahmad. Oh, I wish I had my soundboard up and ready. I would just give him a big applause, but I can't do that. Scott, how are you this evening?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. You?
I'm good. Oh, you finally learned to do the logo on the podcast. It's awesome.
Oh yeah.
Everybody,
I
this
was
is.
just,
Oh, go ahead.
so I was just thinking, how do you do that? And then I turned off the mic. I was like, that's how you do it.
Yes. It works out great because then you know when you're trying to do a live cast in a podcast kind of form, it's so much easier because then then people could actually listen, so that they don't feel so guilty. They're not glued to the screen. They actually can just listen and do their thing. And today I was going to treat you to some music, but my soundboard broke down.
Uh-oh.
No, it needed an update, and it doesn't want to update, of course, because I'm the worst person with technology. So tomorrow, I actually have to have a friend come in and show me how to do it, because I just can't figure it out. I can't figure out what I was doing wrong. I was trying to do the whole, YouTube instruction thing, and that just was not working. So it's like, well, crap. So what are you drinking, Scott?
Yorkshire tea.
I figured it. I figured it was either that or it was milk. One of the two. For some reason, I just figured with the whole long mustache going on, it would just be milk and cookies or it'd be tea.
Oh dear.
Okay, well, you're here for an interview. If you'd like, we can get moving on. I'm just going to sip on my Mukau here. I'm having cognac tonight, so I hope you don't mind. And I hope everybody listening is having their drink in their hand, no matter what it is. You guys know how to deal. It's Have a Drink with Me Friday, and today we have Scott's Inverts. Now, Scott, I have a quick question for you. How long have you been keeping exotic pets in general? Because you don't just keep inverts.
Oh, on and off since I was a child. So around 30 years. I've had a few long-term breaks in between as well, but seriously, for the last 4 or 5 years.
Oh wow, that's a lot of experience under your belt.
Before the inverts this time, I was crazily into fish.
Oh, really? What kind of fish did you keep?
American cichlids and Malawi. Fish from out of Lake Tanganyika and Lake
Oh,
Victoria in South Africa as well.
oh, wow. So you had a very nice variety, very pretty collection. Did you make
Yeah.
your own? Did you make your own aquariums? Did you go and buy them, or did you buy them on the cheap? How did you go about getting your fish?
We got them on. Well, I got the aquariums off Gumtree. Back then, Gumtree was all the thing, so everything was reasonably cheap on there. So picked up loads of fish tanks on there. We got some out of a pet shop that were closing down. Me and my mate used to buy fish tanks, break them down, sell them independent, separately. So sell the filter, sell the fish, sell the tanks, and then the money from that would then go to the fish that we actually wanted.
Oh, nice, nice. That's a good way to actually make money. You should be able to do that with herp and invertebrate stuff too. That sounds like a pretty good business going on. Pretty good venture going on.
Yeah, I think so. In the next couple of years, I've bred a couple of species, had a couple of egg sacs. Some successful, some unsuccessful. So we'll see where it goes in the future. At the moment, I'm literally just enjoying them. And as you know, enjoying chatting about them, making videos about them, and chatting some more about them.
Yes. Now, I wanted to touch on your show because I'm a fan of your show. Of course, even if I wasn't a fan of your show, I have you on my show. But I am a huge fan of your show. Tell the audience about your show. What times you go on? What kind of animals you keep? What kind of knowledge you like to share?
Okay, so I do a live stream on a Tuesday at around 8 p.m. GMT, so that's 8 p.m. UK time, which I usually advertise over Facebook and Instagram. And then on a Friday, I sometimes just do a complete random live where it's not even advertised. So if you've got your notifications on, that's how you come along. Rest of the time, I like to make short videos, sort of 20 to 30-second clips with music behind them, with the different tarantulas and species that I've got, because that's how I got into inverts this time around. That's how I got to keep so many, was by seeing other people. So I thought, well, what's the best way to sort of get a lot of my collection out there quickly and in sort of bite-size video clips. So that's what I've been doing. And then also I do care and husbandry videos. I review videos on like live foods that I've had bought online and had delivered, show videos, breeding videos, invert care videos, so not just tarantulas, other things as well, like centipedes, vinegaroons, leeches, that type of stuff. But yeah, the lives, Tuesday I try and do it a little bit regimented, although it never goes that way. That's why I always call it madness and chaos, because we have such a laugh. And then Friday it's just a free for all.
It's like come on, come here. We have lots to see. Now you also keep frogs, correct?
Yep.
Okay. And you had just an embarrassing moment not too long ago with one of your frogs.
Oh my god!
Sorry,
Yeah, literally 20 minutes before the stream starting, I opened the top of the lid to the frog vivarium. Got two northern frogs, in there. They're actually an unknown species because we can't decide which species they are currently. The pet shop didn't know either. But one jumped out, and every time I went to catch it, it jumped again and again and again. And then I keep all my tarantulas all on shelving units and what have you, all around my kitchen. So one side's kitchen, 3/4 is complete inverts, tarantulas and toads, frogs, and all sorts of crazy stuff. So the frog decided to jump all over the place. I couldn't catch it, kept slipping out my hand and all sorts. And then it just disappeared. Absolutely just disappeared. And then halfway through my stream, it reappeared behind me. So I tried to grab it and it ran off again.
It was like, see ya. Oh wow! So how many frogs do you have in total?
We have 4 frogs. So we've got 2 northern frogs, and then the leopard frogs, and then we've also got 2 burrowing frogs.
Nice.
But then we've got a cane toad. We've got the southern toad. We've got the firebelly toads as well.
All you're missing is the Pac-Man.
Oh, and the Pac-Man. Yeah, I always forget the Pac-Man.
Oh yeah.
Always forget the Pac-Man. And then the other amphibians, we've got a pair of leeches, a pair of axolotes. The female's looking quite pregnant actually, and then we've got the salamander, firebelly salamander as well,
Oh.
which is the European salamander.
Oh, we're gonna have to talk about. We're gonna have a long evening. Just to give you a heads up, the show runs for 90 minutes. We're 30 minutes into the show, so you get about an hour to explain how to keep amphibians. Because my niece was asking me 100 times, like, how does he keep his frogs? How does he keep his frogs? So if you could, we're gonna start off with the basic care and kind of move more into the more advanced care, and try to keep and hopefully get some price ranges so people can kind of figure out if frogs would be right for them. So
the frogs and the toads that I keep are reasonably cheap, because they're not your tree frogs. They're not highly colourful. They're a sort of a bit more that you got your browns and your greens over them. Apart from the Pac-Man, obviously the Pac-Man's like wow, but the other guys are actually just not your tiny little sort of bumblebee tree frogs. These are actually proper frogs, as I'd call them, and same with the toads.
Okay. But that's, I mean, would they be easy for a beginner? Because I know tree frogs are not good for beginners at all.
No. The southern toad that I've got is exceptionally easy. He's in 4 inches of like a compost soil.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the soil's got no fertilizer or anything in there, and then I spray him down once a week. He has a water dish, and then he gets fed every 2 to 3 days. He's supposed to be nocturnal, but he sits on an enclosure that's quite high up. So when my other half's cooking, he likes to sit on the corner of the enclosure and actually watch her. In the middle of the day, when he's supposed to be asleep. But they do make burrows as well, so they will burrow down through the day, or they're supposed to. Again, mine does it at night time instead. He's like a nocturnal toad, or a nocturnal toad.
It's like
my frogs, I tend to spray them every sort of 2 days, keep their enclosure nice and damp. They've got 2 water dishes in with them instead of just the one, and they're both oversized. And then they've also got some hides in there as well, and a couple of little plants. The Pac-Man frog, same setup as the frogs. The burrowing frogs, they're in about 6 inches of substrate with some oak leaves across the top of the substrate, because sometimes they will burrow down into the substrate, and then other times they will literally just hide underneath the leaves instead. And I like to spray them sort of once, twice a week as well.
Okay, so what about temperature-wise?
Temperature-wise, we're all good at UK room temperature, so anywhere sort of between 24 all the way up to 28.
Oh, so if you're keeping, because she keeps stick bugs now. She loves her stick insects, but she wants to, expand her collection, which I fully support. And so the same, basically the same room temperature she would keep her stick insects.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now my next question would be, what kind of enclosure would you put them in?
When we're burrowing, and the burrowing frogs, they've got more ground space than what they have height.
Oh, okay.
So they're in I think it's 12 inches long, by about 8 inches across. But then they've got a good 10 inches. So, like I said, most of that's taken up with substrate, so they can burrow down.
Okay.
The normal, the leopard frogs, they've got more of a height to their enclosure because they do like to jump. So if they're disturbed, they jump up. So it's a good idea to give them height, because every now and again, you go too close to them, they're going to jump. So obviously, the higher the lid on that enclosure, the better, so they don't injure themselves. But unfortunately, if you open my lid, they like to jump out. Pac-Man frog. Pac-Man frog's enclosure doesn't have to be much bigger than what you think. The Pac-Man frog can actually have a smaller enclosure as long as it's got, again, 4 inches of substrate, and they've got a water dish which is big enough for the frog to sit in. And then as long as you've got 4 or 5 spaces bigger, well, say 4 times the size of the Pac-Man frog in floor space, so he can move around and burrow, that's absolutely bang on perfect. Because the Pac-Mans, they're lazy, they're like me, they eat and get fat, and that's about it with the Pac-Man.
Sounds like my kind of pet. Sounds like my cat, actually, to be honest. So we've covered a little bit about. Oh, we lost him for a moment. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. He has exited the building. We'll wait until he gets back. See, and this is why I wanted to get the soundboard up and running. So in moments like this, we could just go right into a song, and then everybody would have something to listen to before, they get back. But unfortunately, we don't have that. Now he's back. Welcome back, Scott.
Oh, apologies. I'm not quite sure what happened there.
It's called technology. I'm like a curse to it. I just touch it and it just goes nope. It's probably every time. I swear, if I walk by a computer, it screams, stranger danger every time. If you could hear one, it would probably be screaming. So, anyways, we were talking about the various different types of enclosures. What I'm talking about? Can they? What about the ventilation? Can they be in homemade plastic tubs, made for them, or do they need like a glass aquarium-like enclosure, or because I know with bullfrogs, we're not allowed to have the American bullfrog. They would practically take over everything here, because that they're quite an aggressive, invasive species. But I've seen people keep them, and they need absolute water for them. So is there? Do you keep frogs that actually have to have water, or is it just the straight burrowing type of frog?
No, the ones I keep don't need like a pond type of thing. But if they've got drinking water, then that's completely fine, and keep it all damp. A lot of them kind of go into the water when they're breeding. So if you want to breed your frogs, then you'd be looking at obviously doing like a half and half fish tank and substrate kind of setup going on. But as far as the ventilation goes, mine are all in plastic, so I can create ventilation. I just put tiny little air holes, as many as you want to do, all across, just literally 1/4 of an inch above the substrate, so you get air moving across the top of that substrate, because with it being so damp, and obviously the frogs eat a lot more than what tarantulas do, so they're going to produce more waste. So you have to be really, really careful you don't get no mold or fungus and or bacteria growing in there, nasty bacteria. So that airflow helps to avoid that.
Okay, so how often? Speaking of waste and all that, how often do you have to change the substrate?
The Pac-Man frog, once a month I do him.
Okay.
Because he eats a lot and he goes to the toilet a lot. All the others once every sort of 3 to 4 months.
Okay. Oh, that's not
but it's worth noting that majority of toads, especially true toads, do secrete a poison out of glands from the back of their eyes. And they're not actually at the back of their eyes, but where the eyes are positioned, just behind those. They've got a gland on each side which produces a poison that they can secrete when they feel endangered, or they can also secrete it around their area as a way of defense. Some of those can be really nasty. My southern toad, his can give you a bit of an upset stomach. So if you are looking at getting a toad, or make sure you do your research, especially regarding that poison and how that's going to affect you if you do sort of ingest it. But 9 times out of 10 you have to ingest it. So as long as you're washing your hands, you should be completely okay. But like I said, just double check what poison is coming off your toad.
I was going to say poison is ingested, venom is injected.
Yeah, I know.
There's no venomous frogs out there. Just leaving that clear.
Just poisonous, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And then also, if you're going to handle them, keep your hands wet.
Oh no, is that
as
because of the
well.
salt on the hands, or is there a reason?
Yeah,
Another reason
yeah,
for that?
because of the salt, but then also because the toads and the frogs, they have a membrane which you can damage.
No, wouldn't it be better to wear a pair of gloves then, or not handle them at all?
Yeah, I mean, mine get handled when I clean the substrate. Because you know my thoughts on handling
Yes.
inverts, amphibians, and the rest of it. I'm pretty much no, I don't even think about it. But you have to when you're cleaning out the substrate. So if you keep your hands nice and damp, and if you're anything like me, then gloves. I'm not a massive fan of gloves with frogs and stuff. This is only because I like to feel the texture of the skin and get the temperature and have that kind of little froggy toady moment, if you like. I like to get into the nature. I do.
And
If I'm
feel
wearing gloves, it kind of takes a little bit of that away for me. So I just make sure my hands are damp and I wash my hands really, really well afterwards.
okay. So for everybody listening, we're talking about frogs. Frogs care their enclosures, how to handle them if you were to handle them. Now, if you don't mind, I would like to move on to the salamander because salamanders, I think, are the
Okay.
coolest. But I've never been brave enough to own one because I'm always scared I'm going to mess things up because they look so delicate.
They're not as delicate as what you think. Again, my salamander is kept in an aerated though. It has got quite a lot of ventilation, even though it's glass. There's a lot of moss in there. There's a lot of hardwood bark because they live in kind of hardwoody bark under logs and under tree roots in the wild around moss. I keep that all nice and damp. With him, you can leave him up to 6 months before you do his substrate, mainly because it's so damp. And springtails in my salamander enclosure seem to breed like absolutely crazy. And then I've also put some Pusellio lavius dairy cow isopods in there as well, and they seem to be doing really, really well in with the salamander. But
Okay.
then again, with the salamander, it's the same type of temperature, so between 24, 28 max. They've got back of their eyes, they have also got those poison glands, and they will secrete it all over the enclosure. So again, nice damp hands and washing hands afterwards. But then in the winter months, you can reduce their temperature right down. I know some people that actually sort of put theirs out in the garage in the UK winter time. This is to induce the hibernation state that salamanders go in. But it's very much down to the individual when it comes to salamanders, whether they want to hibernate or not. Mine hasn't. Mine hasn't wanted to hibernate this year, but that's completely fine. It's probably because there's quite a few isopods in there, so it may well think that there's still food around, so there's no need to hibernate.
Oh, okay. So like
But
it's not very stressed at the moment. So not going into a hibernation doesn't harm the animal. Is that correct?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Because
But
like I said,
the salamander is literally one of my favourite animals that we've got. I think by nominal name, I think it's the salamandra.
now have you ever thought about getting? No, my question is, can you get a hold of a Japanese giant salamander or? Excuse me.
I,
Bless me. I apologize about that.
I don't know. My knowledge basically starts at the European salamander and ends at the European salamander. At the moment, I just think he's so cool. Yeah, his face literally looks like Toothless from How to Train Your Dragon.
Well,
So he's got those lips that turn in, and it looks like he's got no teeth.
and we all know that's
He's
wrong.
cool.
He's a salamander.
Yes.
He has teeth.
Yep.
So do you? Okay. So we're moving along. Now the inverts part. Another question I was bugged to ask you by a fan actually. Do you have any African snails?
Yes, we have three African snails. They're probably about inch in diameter at the moment, but looking forward to them to get bigger.
Oh, absolutely. They're absolutely huge. Because here in Sweden, somebody had let the is it Spanish snail? It's either the Spanish or African. I can't remember what it's called, but it gets humongous, and they're quite a pest here. So people are constantly fighting these things, especially when it comes to around summertime. Oh my God, they're like everywhere. They're literally everywhere, and these things don't just eat small plants. These things eat they start eating the trees. You actually start seeing where they're taking small chunks out of the tree, and I'm like, oh.
Well, they can have something like up to 2,000 babies at a time.
Oh, it's something like, I don't know. I'm like, oh, are you kidding me? These things decimate everything. These aren't usually something you would keep.
And then, my memory is not fantastic with the African snails, but I think that they carry both sexes as well. So
yes,
in times of hard, they can self-pregnate themselves,
yes,
and then give birth, which pest-wise, it's going to make them a lot worse, I suppose.
Especially in a country like ours, which is very vibrant and full of crops. It's like, oh, here's a buffet. It opens up every year. But no, one of my fans wanted to know about basic care. Now, I don't know too much about keeping the snails because they're a pest here, and we very much try to get rid of them. But since you've got them for pets, how would we give and all that? That would be really nice.
Yeah, no worries. I actually keep them in a communal with millipedes. So the substrate is a millipede mix, so mainly sort of whitewoods and hardwoods. But then they do also burrow down into that substrate. So you think you're missing a snail, but it's 9 times out of 10 it's burrowed down into that substrate. I keep all the enclosure nice and damp. The snails have the snail food, which is a powder form. So
Okay.
you mix that with a little bit of water, put it in there. Just keep checking on it. As soon as it dries out, just swap it over. But then I also put in, for the millipedes and for the snails, I rotate different fruits. So 9 times out of 10, it's whatever's being thrown out from the fruit and veg store, which is near me. I'll go and collect that, so it's not going to waste. And I'll put it in with the millipedes, because what the snails won't eat, the millipedes certainly do. If it's a bit mouldy, I've seen the snails munch the mould, not a problem. But they are a fan of the lettuce. They absolutely adore lettuce. Any sort of leafy salad, they will absolutely smash like there's no tomorrow.
Okay. And like I said, the enclosure is pretty simple.
Yeah, it's like a large Exoterra. I've got them all in.
Oh, nice. A large. Oh, wow, that thing's huge.
It's probably about 2 foot across, 2 foot across by about a foot back, but then it's only about 8 inches high. So what I've done is closed the front doors and put 6 inches, well, probably more than that actually, about 6.5 inches of substrate in, and then just let them go. So they've got a nice big area. So because, like I said, it's a communal in there, so there's hissing cockroaches as well as the millipedes. There's some flower beetles in there. There's a whole colony of woodlice in there. Literally, oh God, there's probably about 1,000, if not more, woodlice in there, which is the European grey. I can't remember the binomial name for those, but it's the UK common one. Because I found probably about 20 woodlice at the beginning of the summer last year, and I thought, I'll just put them in with the snails and see what happens. And before I knew what was going, literally got about 1,000 of them now.
Oh wow! Now for woodlice, you're keeping the woodlice for food, or are you keeping them for what are you keeping woodlice for? That's just my question.
I like woodlice. I've got the tropical orange. I've got the blues. I've got the magic potion. I've got the klugi. But yeah, so I am a bit into getting into my woodlice quite a bit at the moment. And we also got the dairy cow colony up and running as well. You can feed the babies to slings, of tarantulas. The frogs will certainly smash the smaller woodlice off. So will the salamander. But it's worth noting that if the sling doesn't take the woodlice, then the best thing to do is to remove the woodlice, because if a tarantula is molting, woodlice will actually attack the tarantula. Centipedes as well. I put the odd one in with centipedes, and the centipedes seem to like the woodlice as well. So.
Oh, so they're kind of you have a good means to keeping the population down while collecting some pretty little bugs.
Yeah.
If you don't know what woodlice is, a woodlice is pretty much like a pill bug. You touch them, they roll up. They're really the one I liked is I think it was a black and white one. Put me on what it is, because I just briefly see pictures and I'm like, oh, how cute, and then just kept moving. Because my space is limited, and I like to give that space to the tarantulas.
Yes.
I might be a little biased.
But then we've got a couple of geckos as well. So we've got a leopard gecko, adult female. We've got the blizzard, adult female as well, and then we've got 2 other baby girls. And I want to do bioactive for all their enclosures, so those woodlice will be coming in handy for that. And as well as the anery snake that we've got, they'll be going in with him as well.
Very nice. Now I wanted to reiterate what a bioactive enclosure is, because many of my fans are either just getting into the hobby or just simply interested, so that they don't know half the terms that we generally use on a regular basis. So if you could please explain what a bioactive enclosure is to everybody.
Yeah, sure. If you have a substrate which allows the biological decomposition of animal waste, so the way we achieve that is you have your substrate. It's normally a forest floor mix, like the Arcadia one. Then we add springtails, which are very, very, very small organisms. We also add isopods, which are the woodlice, and they help to process all the animal waste down to tiny, tiny particles. But the thing is, a bioactive, it's not bioactive until all the bacteria is established in the soil as well. What that will do is take the springtail waste and the isopod waste and just put it back to bare minimum and put it back into the soil. Then also in that soil, it's always a good idea to have some plants as well. So as the waste comes, it gets processed by your isopods, your springtails, then again by the bacteria, and then absorbed up into the plants. So what this helps do is obviously create a naturalistic environment for the animal that's in there, but then also you're not swapping your substrate out all the time, which again causes less stress for the animal. I'm currently getting more and more into the bioactive stuff because I really, really, really love naturalistic setups. My pet hate is seeing sort of plastic figures and stuff like that in with tarantulas or centipedes and stuff, or in with your reptiles. I really like the naturalistic feel, so that animal can feel literally like it's in a very, very tiny part of its own environment in the wild.
Let's see. That's actually a pretty good explanation. Far better than what I could have done. But my biggest question now, mind you, when it comes to bioactivity, is the cost, because with the C word that shall be not named on my show or on my channel, people are tending to find themselves out of work, so they're tightening the belt, the proverbial belt, make sure that they're not spending on. But there's still many hobbyists who want to get into things like this. Is there any way you can do things on a cheaper, because buying plants is not cheap?
Yes, well, yeah. I am not the king of spending a lot of money because I haven't got a lot of money, so I do like to keep things as cheap as possible. I do absolutely hate it when you see a lot of things on telly and across YouTube, and they've got everything, and they put a price to it, and it's sort of 600-700 quid. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, are you not going to show the cheap version? So anybody and everybody can set this up. So with the substrate, if you get a jungle mix, mix a bit of compost into that, so like a compost soil, so with no added fertilizers or anything like that. So you want it absolutely sort of just sterilized compost soil. And what I do is I'll get a forest floor mix. So again, the Arcadia one, because it's only like £4 for a big bag, and I'll mix that 50-50. So there's nutrients all the way through it. Then I'll nip down somewhere like B&Q or the reptile shop. Any little plants that are in there that look a bit wilted, that have got a 50p sign or a reduced sign, I'll pick them up if they're especially if they're a rainforest or very, very damp. Bring them back, just double check on the internet that the animal that I'm using them with, the plant's not going to damage them. Plant them in. After, well, what I usually do actually is quarantine them for a couple of weeks. So clean off all the soil from the roots, put them in the new soil, which is the same soil that I use in the enclosure. Give them a real good drink of water. Again, if they're from the rainforest and the soil that they're in is a bit dry, that's probably why the plant's actually wilted. But then throw those in as well. Isopods. The isopods, like I said, if you start your own colony, you've literally got them for free. So the Porcellio labius dairy cow are quite cheap. Your own, like a UK species, we find them out and about. They're not endangered by a long shot, so I use those. Springtails, again, if you get a springtail culture going, which is really easy to set up, then you'll have a lot of springtails to use. I mean, I've seen people springtail enclosures and they use all sorts. They've got lettuce sitting on the top. They've got expensive soils and all sorts. Where really, all you need is charcoal to about 2 inches, ½ inch of water below that. Obviously, you put your isopods in with that. You put a few grains of rice in every couple of days, and they will breed like crazy. Every time you tarantula molts, put the molt in there as well. The isopods will munch through the molt like there's no tomorrow. You'll always have a lot of isopods for your enclosures. But yeah, that's literally all I do. And then just wait probably about 3-4 months. So then that bioactive setup slowly becomes bioactive. So you're not buying all the bacteria and throwing them all in at once, like a lot of the tree frog people do. You let them establish all by themselves. But by doing it that way, you can keep the prices down quite a lot. If you've got your plants in there, you're going to need UV lights. So the best ones like that are obviously the small Arcadia ones. They're quite cheap as well. So you don't need a massive UV. You don't need a massive grow light. You can use a smaller light as long as it's positioned over the top of your plants, and as long as your plants are receiving as much light as possible. That's what I do with my frogs. I've just got the one light over those, and it's positioned directly above a big plant that's in there, and that plant seems to be doing really well. Again, to keep the costs down, the bulb that I use for those is a series of LEDs, and to run the whole lot, covering the whole spectrum of the sun, it's a 13 watts. So that obviously keeps prices down as well. So yeah, but with lighting, just look round. Don't, like I said, don't go overboard on your lighting, but then don't go really cheap. If you go really cheap, then you're going to have issues somewhere down the line with LEDs. Also another no is Wish. Basically, because a lot of stuff on Wish isn't quite as stated. So it might say that it's UV 20%, and you get it home and it's like, I can't. There's nothing's happening.
Exactly.
And you're lucky if you get like a 0.5%, you know. So it's always better to go for the name brands with the lighting.
Or you could just do like you do here in Sweden and go to the greenhouse to get your lighting.
Yeah, I don't know what the temperatures are there, but yeah. You could do
So
that.
you could on ours it has to tell you the wattage, it has to tell you the temperature range, it has to tell you how strong it is, and it has to tell you the life of the bulb. Mainly because we have so many here, like in the UK, we pretty much stacked on top of each other in our cities and stuff. So if it's a fire hazard to one, it could be a fire hazard to many.
Yeah.
And nobody wants that. Oh, excuse me. Let me give you a shout out to all of the fans that just showed up at the worst possible time. I swallowed it, went down the wrong.
Halfway through a coffee fit.
Oh yeah, no, it's cognac going down the wrong pipe.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I apologize, everybody. That was just a blooper on my part. But everybody that's just entered, please feel free to say hello in the chat area so we can give you a proper shout out. Right now we have Spider Mom and Scott's Animal Adventures that has joined us.
Hey, Spider Mom. Hey, Scott.
And Spider Mom says, Scott, you're making it hard for her not to get isopods.
Good. They're absolutely awesome. They absolutely explode as soon as you get a camera. And if you get, because I mean, I was looking at people's pictures thinking, how to do these macro shots, this macro photography. And I wanted to keep it as simple as I possibly could, because again, I'm not a techno geek. So I bought a camera, a relatively older camera. I think it was about £100 second hand. And then I bought the Raynox 150 lens. Now the Raynox 150 lens just clips on the end of your camera, so it doesn't screw on. So it's not super expensive. I think it was £50. So what I did was I actually gave up one of my tarantulas in order to be able to buy that at the time. And as soon as you start zooming in on these isopods and blowing them up, and literally they're the same size as your hand on a computer, and you can see all the detail on them. It's just, it really, really hits you. They really are magnificent creatures. They're very, very active, so they're always scurrying about. I just absolutely love it when you pick up a stone or you pick up a piece of cork bark, flip it over, and there's a whole colony of woodlice just going along their own business. They could be mainly white with black spots, so they look like a cow. They could be brown with a pink skirt with little white dots across the top. Some of them are absolutely outstanding. As you can tell, I've absolutely fallen in love with them over the course of the last 12 months. Really sort of been trying to promote them a lot more across the internet and Facebook and other media platforms as well, because they don't get enough attention. It's always the tarantulas or the lizards or whatever. Not many people, I should say, sorry, sort of look down towards the isopods. And like I said, as soon as you start zooming in, it's like a whole new world appears. It's the same with the springtails as well. Start zooming in on the springtail, and suddenly instead of becoming a white little dot that jumps around, you can actually see the organism moving. But yeah, all of them.
No, I wanted to say though, I want to add, because here in Sweden we have different building laws. So make sure if you're living in an apartment, it's okay to keep animals like that. Because here in Sweden, the floors between ours are made out of concrete, but there's a gap between the tile of the floor and the concrete floor itself. And that gap is filled with sand. So if they get in there, they just live happily ever after. And then would spread to floor to floor to floor. And then it would be a huge problem. So we're not allowed to keep animals such as things like that. That's a big problem. What I'm having to deal with now is keeping feeders for my tarantulas. I can't have my own colonies. I'm not allowed to. As it was said to me, a cockroach gets out, one pregnant mom gets out, say like a Turkish red. We don't know what kind of damage it's going to do. And then we have to fumigate, and then the building has to put in a lot of money for repairs. So make sure it's okay, depending on your living situation. But I don't see a problem with it for most part. Like I said, it's just there's certain things you have to be careful of, or have to keep in mind. Now we've gone into the isopods. Now we've got into the dairy cows. Do you know how many known species there is of woodlice?
Nope, not a clue.
Neither do I. But I'm pretty sure Scott's Animal Adventures does. I mean, he does collect them.
Scott's Animal Adventures is the man to go to for your isopod sort of information, definitely. I mean, I've done a dairy cow care video while ago, and he's just done a isopod husbandry video, and he's just took it to another level.
Now I'm gonna
Very, very helpful guy as well.
to look this up now because I don't like leaving a question unanswered. Population of woodlice species. All right. Oh, it's per country. You know, there's so many. They can't give you a direct number. They have to give you a direct number per country. So that's the answer. We'll have to get back to later and examine that more. I know 200 different species in the hobby. So wow, holy crap!
There's also a lot of morphs as well.
Oh gosh.
I've heard of people sort of creating their own, which is. Us podkeepers seem to get excited about it. I like sort of au natural ones. Do you know what I mean? I like the originals.
I'm an old. I guess I'm old school. I don't like crossbreeding, or cross species, interspecies breeding, if you want to call it that. I just don't. Mainly because you don't know what you're going to get, and then how do you classify it if you plan on selling it? With tarantulas,
it's not very fair. Not very fair on the animal. There could be all sorts of defects.
Exactly. That's my one of my points. How would you classify it when you go to sell it? It wouldn't be. It wouldn't be. Okay, hold on one second. Scott Animal just says it's like ball pythons. A lot of morphs are single species genetic mutations. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, but see, that's the thing. I keep things simple and make sure you don't cross, especially tarantulas. I guess it's a new thing to start to cross species them now. I'm like, wait, what? When was that ever accepted?
It's not in the UK. Definitely not. Crossbreeding tarantulas is just. You'll get lynched on the groups if you even sort of suggest the idea that you're going to be doing it. And I'm fully against it as well.
I'm 100% against it. Again, you just don't know what you're going to get.
No. It's nice to keep the species, and in who knows, in 500 years' time, there could evolve different colours or different ways of doing things. But I think it's best just to leave the animal to discover new ways all by itself without sort of interfering, if you like.
Oh, like the moths out. Was it outside of London? Is it London or another? I know it's part of somewhere in England. There's a particular moth that went black and white, and then because of air pollution was so bad. They morphed themselves. It basically evolved themselves to be black against the black bark because of all of the air pollution. And then as the trees that was native to them started to make a comeback, they went right back to being black and white again. So it's an interesting evolution to see that it didn't take them hundreds of years to do. It took them merely 10. And then
it's amazing, isn't it? Absolutely amazing how things change. I mean, in a perfect world, obviously they wouldn't need to change to black. It's amazing how they've done it, but at the same time, it's heartbreaking.
Well, yeah, but you also have to think of industry as well. I don't like to look down on industries because industries put food on tables, and then being a construction worker, it would be kind of a asinine for me to be like, oh no, I'm totally against industrial. I'm like, wait, hold on.
I'm a complete hypocrite because of the industry that I'm in. The hoses that we take off go straight to landfill sites. Do I feel guilty? Exceptionally guilty every single day. I do like the idea of sort of cleaner industry. So you know,
Yeah, so you wanna move to
staying
Sweden.
away from fossil fuels, things like that, less waste.
Yes.
Um,
So you want to move to Sweden then?
yes, Lord, I'd love to move to Sweden. But if you watch David Attenborough's recent documentary, he points it all out very well. If nothing gets changed within 100 years, the planet will, not a case of maybe, there will be a lot of the areas of the planet will be inhabitable to humans and many other species. The planet will warm up by 6 degrees. If we carry on doing what we're doing, if we change what we're doing, we can make positive effects for then. If we change and go 100% environmental, then the planet will still warm up, but it'll be more sort of 1 or 2 degrees, not that 6. But yeah, it's scary times, because everybody's got it in their hands, haven't we? We've all got that possibility to change, but everybody's like, well, do I do it that way and make £5, or do I do it this way and make £100? That's pretty much how the world evolves at the moment. It's pretty much what it comes down to is literally businessmen and how much money they can get. And yeah, nobody really, well, the majority of people aren't really caring enough for the environment, I don't think, myself included, which is really scary sort of for our grandchildren, because they're the ones that are going to be affected. So although we won't in our lifetimes, our grandchildren, which is our bloodline, they will. And the other thing that really annoys me is it's not a new thing either. It's, you know, we've been sort of aware of this for a long time, and yet we're still failing to sort of help the planet, aren't we?
I have to
Enough.
say, I have to actually agree. But I give me a second. I want to point something out, going off topic here just a little bit. Scott's Animal Adventure says there is a mosquito that has evolved to live underground, and then became so distant from its normal above ground ones they couldn't breed. It's terrifying that there's mosquitoes now living in the ground, attacking things in the ground. It just kind of was like, you guys couldn't have the lakes in the air. Now you got to take out the ground. You're not even safe underground anymore. That's just no. That's more horrifying than an actual horror film.
That's probably what the planet's thinking about the humans. You couldn't be happy in small villages living in caves, and you've had to reproduce into the billions and billions and billions and take over the world. So maybe that's a way of nature sort of trying to get back to us. You know what I mean?
No, nature's way of getting back to us is ever-changing V words. I'm not going to say I'm not going to say that V word, because I know somebody along the lines is going to be listening, and they're like, oh no, she said it, and then there's going to be issues. That's just my pure luck. But diseases with bacteria and other things, I believe that is nature's way of taking care of us.
I don't think the recent one is nature.
Are you sure? Are you? Hear me out on this one, because we're still part of nature, whether we like it or not, and we just kind of want to eliminate ourselves. I mean, look how we always fight, always war. I mean, so for somebody to make the V word and release it on the population, I think it's just nature, us doing it by instinct.
Could well be. But I think it was accidentally released. I think it was biological warfare, purely because it went from a bat to a human. I don't fall for that one little bit, because if it's zootonic, then it would affect every animal on the planet, and it's not. It's just affecting us.
No, that's not true. That is actually not true. Because look at the bubonic plague. Bubonic plague only affects 3 species.
Yeah, but I'm looking at the latest one that came out, and going on the small knowledge that I know about that. It does all point to let's say, a conspiracy theory that which we really haven't got time to go into, I suppose, because there's so much to it.
The show is
and
70
it's,
minutes. We're at 75 minutes now, so 74.
yeah, and I don't want to pull it off topic onto something it shouldn't be as well, you know.
Yeah, we're exotic pet keeping show, and on my part there is a little bit booze involved, so we'll just leave that at another show.
Sounds good.
So, anyways, to get back to our exotic pet care, believe it or not, Scott's animal adventures will be on the show. I believe it's the 5th. Yes, the 5th. He will be on will be on live doing a live interview like you on the 5th. We're going to talk about more about the creatures he keeps, because he keeps more of the isopods and more of the snakes. I wanted to talk to him more about the snakes.
He will be able to go exceptionally a lot more deeper into the isopods. That's for sure.
Yes.
His knowledge base is absolutely amazing when it comes to isopods. I thought, oh yeah, I know it, I know what I'm doing, and then you speak to him, and it's like, oh, I didn't know that, and I didn't know that. So it just shows you how you can learn from each other. That's for sure. That's
one thing that I love about this hobby is you don't just generally stick to one critter. You move from species to species to species to genus to genus to genus, and then next thing you know, you're no longer taking care of just vertebrates. You're taking care of reptiles and amphibians, and then you go from there, and it's just like it's like going to the university to study, but then you end up learning more than what you've paid for. And in my eyes, I think you get a better education because not only are you learning from people, you're learning from people with experience who actually have had these animals, not just somebody who learned biology up to that degree and now is able to teach it.
I think the best piece of advice on keeping a large collection I can give is make sure you do your research. I'm going to assume that everybody's going to do their individual species research, but the research that I'm talking about is the upkeep. Make sure that if you've got a lot of animals, that you can keep a dubia colony going. You've got somewhere to store a large dubia colony, as well as keep a large collection. You're able to feed them on time and regular. You're able to do all the waterings, and you've got all that time for them. Basically, so you might have like 100 tarantulas, but then your dream animal is a monitor lizard. So you get a monitor lizard, and it's all about the monitor lizard. And make sure you remember your tarantulas as well. So you're remembering to do all the feedings and everything else, as well as check out your new one. Because I see a lot of people kind of focusing a lot on one animal that they've just got and steering away from others. So I think if you're going to get a large collection, just have a think about it before you delve too deeply into getting too many, I would say. Have a good look round, get the ones that you really, really, really like the look of first, and then slowly expand, because once you're up to sort of 120 tarantulas, it is hard work. Well, it's not hard work. I love feeding, I love maintenance days, I love water spraying. But I can see how somebody could easily get like, oh God, I don't know if I want to do it today. You know what I mean? Where you have to be able to do it that day, because you're looking after them. So just be mindful of the fact that if you get one, yeah, okay, it's going to be 10 minutes work a week, if that. But if you get a lot, then it's a lot harder. There's a lot more work involved. Obviously money wise as well, because you've got your dubia colony, which you can do a regular feed, but then you are going to want to swap those out for locusts or crickets as well as each month. So just make sure that you can do that as well as. But yeah, that's probably the best piece of advice on invert keeping I could possibly ever give.
Oh, that and my
try and
advice,
stay within your means.
And my advice would, as Scott had pointed out, think about the adult enclosures, because they're going to take up a lot of room. And my next advice is have a contingency plan. Here's you don't know if there's going to be a fire, or in my case, a fire would put me out of house. So how would I save my tarantulas? I actually have a routine for them. I have a place where I can put them. I have actually two places, just in case one can't do it. And again, always think about a backup plan because you don't know what's going to happen in the future. So, say a fire misplaces me, I'm able to save my tarantulas. Now, where do I take them? How do I take care of them? I can't just run a car 24/7 to keep them warm. And not everybody in my family is very thrilled about having tarantulas in their house. So
No.
I have to come up with a plan. So my plan is, first of all, my first plan is a friend of mine who also is a keeper themselves. But if they can't, because they have their mother-in-law, that actually is a legit reason, then I have to go to where she works, and the pet store that she works at, they said it'd be perfectly fine if it was temporary, which again works out perfect. So I have a contingency plan to get me through any case of any type of scenario when I'm actually cannot stay at my house for some strange reason. And then also the next thing, I know a lot of people but there's not that many veterinarians that can take care of arachnids. I have a veterinarian that's 2 hours away. I had to look high and low to find them, but I found them. So my next thing would be after that would be, you've done your research, you've done top to bottom everything you can, you've set up the enclosure before you get your animal, you've set up your enclosure because you don't want to get them and then go set up. I know it's very exciting to get an animal, but you must be set up for them. And you've got a contingency plan in case something happens. Get a veterinarian care. Nothing can replace an expert. You can ask the forums all you want.
Yeah.
I live by the saying that forums are filled with egos, and everybody has their way. So everybody will give you bad information to top the other guy. So just leave it. Just if you want to know where to buy tarantulas, forums are a perfect place to figure out.
Right. I always advise if you're going to watch one, if you let's say if you're a fan of my channel and that's the only channel you watch, I would recommend that you watch other channels as well, because there could be new information that's come out regarding the species that you're looking into. There could be a different way of doing it that more suits you, maybe. But yeah, because we can get it wrong often. Often people make mistakes or say the wrong word. It's just one of those. But then going back to keeping a collection, if you buy a sling and it's a tiny little sling, it's in a sling pot, all's going well. You've seen the racking people keep their tarantulas on. So if you get yourself racking and you think, well, that's it, that is my lot, or if it's a large shelf, what you can do is go, right, well, this tarantula will need, I'm just gonna get some figures which mean absolutely nothing, but let's say if it's 6 inches by 6 inches by 6 inches, if that's the adult size enclosure that tarantula will need, if you mark it out on the shelf and keep your tarantula sling in the middle of that 6 inches, and then when it upgrades again, go up to your next size enclosure, but keep it in that box that you drew out and put nothing else in there whatsoever, and you do it for your next one and your next one. And once that shelving's filled up with your drawings on there for each adult size enclosure that you'll need, then you've reached your limit. So what that will do is stop you getting a lot more tarantulas than you actually wanted. So instead of having to go, oh, this needs upgrading, but my racking's full, you'll be upgrading it to the space that you've already provided on the racking.
And unfortunately, if you live in an area like I do, there are people who get tarantulas and then figure out that's not something for them, and you end up taking in rescues.
Yeah, I've got a few that were rescues, but I'm more like, yeah, I'll make room.
Exactly. That's how I have a large tub. I had 2 large tubs, one for Izzy. This goes back to when I have my Regalis, because funny story is Regalis was my very first tarantula. Not a tarantula I would recommend getting a first for anything. I'm sorry, but Regalis, unless you're getting it into arboreal old worlds, then a Regalis is actually really good. But for a very first beginner tarantula, not so great. But under the circumstance, the prior owner, lived not too far down the street from me. So any questions I had, they immediately came over. They came over on feeding days because remember, tarantulas work well on a schedule. I've seen that person come in with eyes watering, nose swollen, that they're coughing, they're trying not to cough on me, and they're trying to show me how to take care of them. So it wasn't any part, and unfortunately, they didn't have a contingency plan, so they had to get rid of their collection because of a person moving in, and I ended up with this animal, and so it became the love of my life at that point. So that was my very first tarantula. So when I got another Regalis, I knew exactly what I needed through prior experience. But then I never stopped to think, oh, I know everything. The information, as you said, always changes. So we're always learning something new. So what's new with the Regalis? So I immediately set up an enclosure for a small enclosure for this 6 centimeter animal that actually turned out to be 4. And I ended up setting up their enclosure and keeping them for, I think Izzy now is 4 years, going on 4 years. So he's pretty much coming to the end of his life cycle. He hasn't done his ultimate molt yet, but it's just a matter of time now. So anyways, so I was thinking, oh, when I first got him, I don't know which size he was going to, because I had a female. So I knew exactly what I needed for a female, but not a male. So I got 2 sizes of tubs. I ended up having to use the second one for this recent rescue. That was interesting. I was just going to say that. But let me say this much. First of all, I was told it was 14 centimeters and it was a female. Turned out to be almost 8 centimeters in a male. He was kept completely wrong in a lot of ways. I don't want to call it out too much, but he ended up having injuries on him. And I ended up having to take him to the vet, thinking my tarantula may actually have it a lot rougher than we thought. Nothing completely too wrong with him. Just keep him in a not cold environment or cool environment, but a slightly lower than normal temperature, and to put a little extra stress on him, and that forced him into a molt. And believe it or not, he grew significantly after that, and now he's a fat guy sitting in there waiting for another molt. But that goes to show you always have a contingency plan. Even if you get side blinded by some of the tarantulas, you're like, we're going to put this one. Gosh dang it. But it's because I had a contingency plan for my Regalis for Izzy that I had an extra tub on me. If I didn't have an extra tub on me, it would have been a little more hectic than it actually was. And everything turned out well. He's now well, and actually today's feeding day, so you can imagine where he's at right now. He's waiting for that lid to pop up for his food, even though he's
just
fatter.
going back to new research that's coming out. There is somebody that does a lot of research into the Plethysarea genus, which is obviously Regalis. Currently in captivity, this person is highly he's highly respected. But he's seen them in the wild, and he says in captivity we feed them too often. We're getting them fat, whereas in the wild they're a lot skinnier to how we keep them, which is quite interesting. I think a lot more research needs to be done into that before I'd actually change over to putting my tarantulas on a diet. So I wouldn't advise anybody doing that. But then my other 2 thoughts are this: if you're quite an apt person, then I think as far as new worlds, old worlds go, if you bought yourself an old world sling, then you could literally grow with it. Just be careful of the speed, because some of them can be absolutely lightning fast. But if you're new to spiders, I always say, look, it's probably better that you avoid the tiny slings. Go for a large sling, go for a juvenile, go for an adult. Go for one that's in the new world, one that's a bit slower. The reason I'd say keep away from the smaller slings is because they are very, very fragile at such a young age. I wish I'd have done that at the very beginning, because I had quite a few slings die until I looked into sling care. But as they grow up, as they get into juveniles and large juveniles, subadults, they become a lot more forgiving. You've only got to look at the Carabiner versicola. Obviously, all the way up to subadult, they need to be kept quite damp. They need that the humidity. You can make a couple of mistakes if they're a larger tarantula and get away with it, especially with things like humidity, because they've just got a bit more bulk to them more than anything.
Yeah. And that's another thing. I covered this Wednesday was sling care. Slings are slings are slings. They're quick. They're creative on how to get out of situations.
Yeah.
And you have to keep a very close eye on them. And we got into what type of enclosures to keep them in, for what size, and all of that. But going back to go back to owning a sling. I would keep, in my personal opinion, I would keep a tarantula, either a juvenile or a subadult, if you want to get into the younger ones, the little less expensive ones. And usually the little less expensive ones tend to be the New World, which is a good thing. But always stick to a New World. I don't care, because the bite is no joke. When you get tagged, it is literally no joke. You're talking to somebody who's been tagged by slings before. Most of them actual New Worlds. They're a little more spicy than the old worlds who just want to bolt and get away from you. New Worlds tend to want to stand their ground after a short bit. It's like, no. You're supposed to kick hair. You're supposed to be kick hairs, not slap me. And the always go straight to the slapping first.
I'm yet to get tagged.
Good. You better knock on some wood. But see, the thing is, every time if I get tagged, then I completely blame myself. It's because I am always in a hurry. I believe if you get bit, take responsibility to get bit, because you haven't done everything you could in your power to not get bit. You didn't respect the tarantula enough, or you were in a hurry, you did something too much, you didn't have a catch cup ready, or you didn't have, you were doing something you got a little too placated, is a good word to use.
You see me in the back of my van at work. You open up the sliding door. I've got like a work area for when I'm on site, and up on the back wall, I've got the poster with all the Polythia species, pictures of them up. And you go onto a building site, and you talk to somebody, and they say, "Oh, you like spiders then?" They're all tarantulas. You say, "Yeah." And as soon as you start telling them about the venom and how strong it is, they look at me absolutely gone out, because they really haven't got a clue. So again, if you're looking at a tarantula, be it New World or Old World, just have a Google, have a look to see what their venom potency actually is. So if you are dealing with one and it bites you, you kind of know the first stage. You know whether it's oh, okay, I'll just wait till the pain goes, or if you know, oh, hold on a minute, this is just going to get worse. I need to go to hospital to get the painkillers. Just do a little bit of research into that.
Oh, and knowledge will keep you from panicking. The worst thing you can do if you are bit is panicking. That's one thing I've learned. I don't know, but Scott says he's never been tagged, but take it from somebody who has been. Panic is the worst thing you can do. Don't panic. Try to breathe.
From talking to people that has been tagged, what I have noticed is, if a tarantula gets out, fast movements equals potentially being bitten. Slower movements lessens your chance, let's say, because if the tarantula feels that threatened, it wants to bite you, it will pretty much bite you. But I've had tarantulas get out myself. They've come shooting out, and I've just kept still. I've had one on the back of my hand, and I moved my left hand, and it put its legs in the air, and it was striking at my other hand. When I stopped moving my left hand, the tarantula calmed down, and then I moved my arm ever so closely back to its enclosure, and she crawled back in, and that was an adult female C. lividum. So if that had given me a good old crack, it would have been like a bolt of electric going through my arm. But that's what I noticed is that faster movement. When I'm feeding tarantulas as well, and when you sort of generally going through the whole experience of being a tarantula keeper, I've noticed that fast movements will get those threat poses up. Whereas if you're a bit more slow and a bit more calm, the spiders don't feel as threatened. Maybe I don't know if yourself or anybody in the chat kind of has experienced anything similar to that, or noticed anything similar to that.
Well, Scott was talking about, this is why mystery boxes for the most part, is unethical. But he can see why you can do it for inverts, but with other pets, it would never work. It, it, between the knowledge, the care, and everything. So he's spot on with that.
I think mystery boxes. I think about 2-3 years ago, mystery box was just that. You'd pay for a mystery box and you had no idea what was in it. But then, thanks to a few of us that just kept wording it out there, saying, "Look, you know, this you're giving people, or you're supplying a tarantula to somebody, and they have no idea what it is. So you can almost specify in a couple of the mystery boxes to what you've already got, and if you want something along the same lines of what you've got." Nowadays as well, what mystery boxes do is they do beginner, intermediate, and advanced boxes as well. So it's not all doom and gloom for mystery boxes. I normally get one a month from the Spider Shop, which I absolutely adore, because they don't just do tarantulas, they do all sorts of weird and wonderful things. And the Spider Shop know that literally whatever they send me will get well looked after, and I'll probably fall in love with, which is always the case.
Yeah.
The Spider Shop's a prime example. They have beginner boxes, intermediate boxes, and advanced boxes. You can also message them if you want a mystery box, a bit less mystery, let's say.
Well, there's the Spider World, spiderworld.eu, because I live in Sweden. They're the best to have on this side of the country if you're going to have the more exotic variety when it comes to tarantulas. And they have beginner, intermediate, and expert or advanced for each type. That's arboreal, terrestrial, fossorial.
Yeah.
Then you can break it down into New World, New World beginner, or New World expert, intermediate, expert, and for terrestrial. So they really break it down. It's like,
I think what's another good idea is to have a look on their website, have a look at what you think is going to be in that mystery box, and just Google it to see if it's legal in your country. Make sure, because it could be an endangered species, like T. celadonia in the UK, they're all actually illegal. Because the parents would have been wild caught and smuggled in. So all the babies and the offspring are all illegal, even though they're bought and sold freely on the internet, and the governments really don't care when it comes to inverts. So just keep that in mind, especially if like a brachypalma or a tiliticatl has got wild caught next to it, because Mexico have stopped the exports of those spiders now, so they can build those back up in the actual wild. So wild caught would be something that you shouldn't be looking at, because it would have been illegally imported, possibly. So just be mindful of that as well. If you've got any sort of qualms about any seller, inbox somebody that you know will know. So either on the Facebook groups or your favourite YouTuber, drop them a message, see what they think as well. Because I'm not blowing our own trumpets, but YouTubers, we are privy to a little bit more information sometimes, just purely because of the network that we've got out there. We've got sort of subscribers we call upon, and other shops as well, because a lot of the UK shops are very close to them, and they're all very good friends. But if somebody imports something illegally, they can kind of tell straight away, just purely because of the species that they're trying to sell. So just be mindful of those little bits as well, I think.
I think the safest bet is buy something from a place with an actual business license, because they have rules and regulations they must follow. They can't get around it. If they do and they get caught, it's way much worse for them to lose so much than just a simple collection. So they'll adhere to the rules and regulations. That's what I'm trying to do here in Sweden. I'm trying to open up a tarantula boutique. But it's a long road. It's a really hard and long road to actually do something like that. But
in the UK, the government just lets them get on with it. There is big shops in the UK that sell illegal tarantulas, and they've been reported. And if it was a fluffy monkey or an endangered penguin, they would obviously go round, raid, take those animals, find the person, and put them in prison. But because it's an invert, it doesn't seem to be sort of looked upon much. The only things that the government and local councils do clamp down on, and you do have to put several complaints in, is the DWA. So that's the Dangerous Animals License. So whether that's a scorpion or spider or any of the sort of mammals or reptiles that you can also get under that DWA license, they will clamp down on that. But not so much on the illegal tarantulas and spiders that are not DWA. Which is a complete and utter shame, because, like I said, if it was a rare fluffy bunny rabbit with big blue eyes, you know, the council would be straight through, door off, and everybody in the house arrested. But because it's a spider, they're just overlooked, severely overlooked.
Yes, and then you have countries like mine who have, I want to say, is kind of loose rules when it comes to venomous creatures. You do not need a license, or you do not need to keep anti-venom in your house if you keep a cobra or it just doesn't have to be endangered. That's the biggest thing. It doesn't have to be endangered. Now, when it comes to inverts, it can be endangered as long as it's captive bred. And that's what CITES was all about recently. And so or it's imported from a region that doesn't deem it to be endangered. So basically, if one region has more of it than another region, and that region doesn't dub it as, that's the reason why the CITES is basically International Trade of Endangered Species. I forgot what the C stands for. So basically, we have various different, very, very loose. I mean, you can even own a fat tail scorpion if you want. And if you guys don't know what a fat tail scorpion generally is, I do not remember the genus. It covers a lot of tarantulas, but you can see that very, very
Barithida, isn't
it? Scott, Animal Adventures, what is it?
Barithida genus.
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know, but they can be deadly from my understanding.
Yeah, they can.
So there's nothing prohibiting us here in Sweden to owning one. We can buy them, and I won't keep them because I have not only my own safety, but I have my cats. You know, I'm very in love with my kitties, and I love them so much that I don't want them. I don't want an accident to happen. So
I was chatting to my other half about having a DWA license, and she said there's two things really. One, she wants all the kids to be of the age of 16 if I'm going to keep them in the house, so they all know, and they all know what they're doing, to stay away from them, etc., etc. That's, I mean, we've got a baby, so we've got to consider the fact that, you know, he may grow up to not know, so we've got to sort of think about that, or get an outside building, which isn't going to happen anytime soon. So as long as I meet one of those criteria, I can get the license. But like I said, that won't be happening for a long, long time. And I'll certainly respect the wishes, because she lets me keep a lot of inverts. And happy wife, happy life.
I don't have that. I have my brother, who's a roommate, and
happy brother, happy life.
No, not even that. It's more like, you said, the door must be locked. I'm like, okay. Well, we figured it out. No, what I did, I was evil. When my brother was younger, what I did was I took an empty enclosure. I set it up like as if one of my tarantulas had been living in it for a very long time. And then I left it on the kitchen table. And now, mind you, this is when I was in the military, and I was in and out of my mom's house at the time. And on top of that, you know, going to the university in between, I was a very busy person at that point in time in life, and I was living with my mom. But I wasn't living there cheaply, and I wasn't living there for free either. Let's just put that one out. You know, when you're trying to juggle semi-military service, and you're trying to juggle, because I was just getting out at the time, but I was also getting into university. I was kind of between a transition. And you got to pay, you know, you got to pay rent. Come on now, you got to pay half your portion of the bills. Come on. But at the time, my brother was also living there, because he was not doing the same. He was actually still in what you would call it gymnasium. So, anyways, I left it up on the table, and my mom looked at me. That better not had a tarantula in there. I'm like, no. But you know, of course, my little brother doesn't know that. She goes, "Oh my God, you're evil," and she just walks away. She doesn't even say anything. And so my brother comes home from work, and he's like, work after class. He's had a long day, and he sees this empty thing on the thing with a note that says, "Sorry, I couldn't. I'm not home for you to see that to tell you, but a tarantula has escaped." Mom goes, because I was out at the store. Mom goes, "I heard the most blood curdling screech. I thought he had he thought somebody was murdering him." So she runs in there trying to figure out what's wrong, and she catches him on the table with his knees, and he is looking everywhere, and then he was cursing my name, he was cursing everything, he was cursing life, and come to find out later, he wanted to kill me so bad, because but the thing is, I didn't tell him immediately that nothing was in there and it was just a joke. No, I let him live like that for like 3 days.
Brilliant.
So after I tell him, I run like hell to get out and get away from him, and of course, karma comes and gets me, because I get tackled to the ground, and of course, I'm not paying attention. But the part of the driveway that we had to our house was paved, or not paved, but with gravel, and I hit that so hard. I got pebbles in the hands at that point, skin knees. He was so mad. And of course, he gets punished because, again, no matter how old you are, you don't hit girls and you don't tackle them to the ground. So my mom beat the back of his head so hard, I think she made him stupid for a little while. Good times. Scott Animal Adventure says they're back, and Spider Mom is just laughing. But unfortunately, welcome back, Scott. I have to say that, but unfortunately, we are coming up on 105 minutes, which is much longer than the normal runtime, and so I'm going to have to call it here and say thank you, everybody, for showing up. Scott, it was great to have you. Now, if you guys haven't figured it out yet, there is a description in the description below. There's a link to Scott's Inverts, so go check him out. If you haven't subscribed to him yet, please go check him out and subscribe. Hit that like button, hit the notification bell. And of course, is there anything you'd like to say, Scott?
Yeah, I'm on 1,950 subs. I'm trying to hit the big 2,000 by my birthday, which is the 6th of February. So that'll be an awesome birthday gift, I'm also going to be going live in 30 minutes as a complete random, unadvertised live. So if you subscribe with the notifications on, you'll get that notification. So come in, say hello, and it'll show you a bit of the madness and the chaos of Scott's Inverts, which is a live stream, which is the best way I could ever describe one of our live streams is by saying madness and chaos. But yeah, if you want, how does Spider Mum say it, a goofball on your telly, making you smile, then come over and have a look.
Nice. So yeah, go check him out. Go say hi to him. So yeah, anything else? I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think we've covered everything. Again, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate it very much. You're like a legend to me because I have like only 30. I have 31 subscribers, but there will be a 100 subscriber contest. So as soon as we get 100 subscribers, it will be revealed to what the contest is. But I am going to be holding a contest. And other than that, that's pretty much it. Good luck on your 2,000. I'm hoping you get your 2,000 for your birthday. I'll be there with a glass of.
Thinking. Cheers, yeah. With a cup of Yorkshire tea. I'll have to send you some tea bags.
Oh no, I'll send you some Swedish tea, some really good Swedish tea. So.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah.
What I'm thinking about doing towards like the end of February is there's a couple of YouTubers I've got in mind. Spider Mum is definitely one of them. Is hooking up to do some sort of competition where you have to be subscribed to all the channels to be in with a chance of winning whatever prize I can come up with.
Oh, that would be great.
So that is something that I think for the future, because when I had sort of 50 subscribers, I had a lot of friends, so it went up to 100. But then to go from 100 to 200, it takes such a long time, and then to get up to 500 takes even longer. And it's not until you get sort of close to 1,000 that you can see a regular increase. And I think that's just because it puts people off when you haven't got many subscribers, which is completely wrong. Because, Spider Mum, yourself, Ellie, Scott as well, absolute awesome channels. And people are missing out just because they scroll straight past it because of the subscriber count, which is a complete and utter shame.
That and YouTube is not exactly. I'm going to call it the boob tube, just to be nice about it. They're not exactly promoting the low subscribers that they want to
No,
bring in
no,
for the
not at
high
all.
subscribers. The
Yeah,
channels
not
with
at
high
all.
subscription. Yeah, exactly. So it's a battle, but it's a great adventure because any and all mistakes that I make now will not be repeated in the future. Just to sharpen that's how I look at it, to sharpen my show. And I love the adventure part of it. I get to meet new people. I get to make the mistakes, and then I get to correct them, of course. But that's the whole point of it. So I appreciate the slow growth, but I also appreciate people like you are coming on and say, "Hey, go check them out." When I went to Podbean, there was a gentleman named PodGod, and he was probably one of the most lovely people before his untimely accident. After about 6 months of knowing him, honestly. And it was about the time I also sent him a tarantula to get him into the tarantula invert family, and he, of course, was readily accepting it. And unfortunately, he went out on one weekend to go swimming while drinking with friends on a lake. He took a dive and never came back. It's a very unfortunate accident. So that teaches everybody, if you're going to drink, please drink responsibly and please don't swim. And please, if you do go swimming, drinking or not, please use a life jacket. Don't take your talents for granted, because he was an excellent swimmer. Apparently, he was also a lifeguard. So, I mean, it is very tragic.
Nothing to any of us. I think that is such a shame, but yeah.
But to get back to the point, was he said, share some, get some. Basically, he would promote the channels coming up. He would tell his audience, hey, go check them out. And then when he'd come on, we would say, hey, go check him out. And of course, we will always acknowledge each other when we're even in sheer passing on another channel. So it was share the love, get some love. And
it's nice to be nice, isn't it?
Yes.
It's nice to be nice. And like, if you help each other out, it puts you in that frame of mind to be that you start looking at your whole life that similar way. Small steps make big changes. And if you subscribe to the channel and watch the video I plan to put out in the summer, you'll certainly see why I say that. But yeah, I think helping out other people, even in the smallest way, helps to create a better human within yourself as well. So you start sort of, expanding that to the rest of your life as well, which is always good.
Exactly.
And then instead of being known as Bob from, I don't know, say Bob from Nuneaton, you'll then be known as Nice Bob from Nuneaton in a really nice way, not sort of non Michael taken there at all. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
But then that helps to promote other people to become the same. So
exactly. So like I said, share the love, get the love. Share some, get some. And again, it's such a great, as I was hitting a point in my life when I was hitting rock bottom, and then I was building myself up. I was going to see counseling again, getting back into art to calm myself, because of where the podcasting where I came from had become such when I first went there, it was really great, and then it just slowly turned into something that it wasn't over the course of the year. And then, so I ended up leaving, and I ended up having issues. I explained this with the mod in the very beginning before you showed up, because the mod had been a listener of mine for a year now, actually. So, but yeah, it was just something. And then I started listening to you guys as I was getting back into podcasting, having to deal with legal paperwork, copyright strikes, and all that. After that, it'll just never end. And I see you twisting your tips on your mustache. Yes.
It makes a lot of people smile, Matosh, so I'll keep it.
Exactly. And I see Spider Mom, and I see Scott's Animal Adventures, and I see Bailey's and Ellie's bug channel, and it's just like
such
every time
people.
Exactly. And I was like, oh, I'm reminded of what it used to be like. So I was like, I have to get back into this. I cannot not do this. So now I'm just taking it easy. I'm doing the Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays now, and I'm doing the art. So I've come back to me, And my tarantulas definitely helped. I have to say, my tarantulas and my cats were, you know, I wouldn't have gotten to the point of even seeing the old crowd or the type of crowd that I used to hang out with if it wasn't for them, because I would have gone down another complete rabbit hole and probably never came out of it. But they keep me on a
good
schedule.
to some of us, aren't they?
Well, yeah. Well, they I think it's the schedule. They keep you disciplined.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
And when you hit rock bottom, discipline is basically all you've got. And I think it was best said in an actual anime, when all else fails, your training is the only thing that will never fail you.
Yeah.
And so it comes to regular life. Discipline is basically your training throughout your life. So it'll keep you on the straight and narrow, no matter how dark it gets. So for me, with the tarantulas and having various different ages, I was always doing something with them at least. And then with the cats, they remind me on a daily basis, you got to clean the litter box. You got to feed them. You got to water them. You got to play with them, because my cats will destroy the house if you don't give them at least an hour or two of attention.
Oh.
So yeah, you know, if I want my house to remain in one piece, I have to give them the attention. So again, if you, my last advice, because I'm going to close the channel after this, and again, thank you so very much for just putting up the channel. For me to see something, the good crowd again, get into the good crowd again, without the drama and without the name calling and without the bogus strikes. Is on podcasts, on Podbean, the biggest issue that they have is they don't vet the strikes. They just go for the strikes, and so they'll just shut you down. Oh. And so with YouTube, they don't shut you down if you counteract it. So they're like, no, that's not exactly what happened. This is what happened. I mean, we complain about it because it happens bogusly so much, but at least you're not quiet. You're not silenced for 7 to 14 days without a chance to even make your case.
Yeah, definitely.
And you're not paying YouTube. That's the other thing, unless you get the subscription, of course. But with Podbean, you're paying for the hours to be up and to be on. So you're paying to basically be silenced.
Yep.
And it just turned into a huge cesspool. And so again, I had to leave all that. So I wanted to say thank you so very much for being out there, being yourself. Making me smile, making Spider Mom smile. I want to say thank you to Spider Mom, because she's been there for me as well.
She's awesome, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. She's actually like everybody's mom. She's not just a Spider Mom. She's like everybody's mom. You get an issue, you go talk to her. And I want to appreciate.
Her and Jason are lovely people.
Yes, they are. And I want to thank Scott's Animals Adventures for all of the knowledge. I mean, if I get into anything other than tarantulas, I can just go to him and be like, this is fun. And he's like, oh yeah, by the way. I'm like, oh, okay. So yes, he will be on next week, which is actually thrilling for me. So, and honestly, I don't have to have a big audience for you guys to be here, which is really amazing. So it means a lot. So I just want to say thank you very much.
Thank you for having me on.
Yep. And we will call that a wrap. Take care, guys. Good night. And
bye.
Hey.
Bye-bye.